Okay, we're here in the UN. It's nearing 11 a.m. on Friday, March 16th. We've just informed the Media Accreditation Unit that we'll be doing some periscoping up here, and they said fine. So what's strange about this event, and we've written a story about it, is that a UN official, human rights official, Andrew Gilmour, will ostensibly be speaking. Why is he speaking in a private club? It'd be better in the briefing room.
Yeah, where is it?
It's there, but it would be better, I think, if it were in the briefing room. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, so it's true. We can confirm it. A UN official of human rights is partnering with a group which has thrown the press in the street. A total joke. Yeah, it had been promised. What? Wait a second. Can I get arrested for coming in here? It was here. Let me explain. It was for coming to cover an event of the UN Correspondents Association in this room. January 29th, 2016. We said we would cover it. We did cover it. We stood here filming. When people started getting a little rowdy, we stood there filming. They got Stefan Dujarric to come and say, you got to leave. We said, you have no paperwork, but if a guard asks us to leave, we'll leave. Guard asked, said, they have no paperwork, but he'd like you to leave. We left. And for that, Inner City Press was thrown out of its office, banned from the UN worldwide for several days by the disgusting Department of Public Information, a censorship machine that works together. But what kind of a group of journalists would get a journalist thrown out of the UN for daring to cover its meeting? Well, this group, UN Correspondents Association, that's exactly what they did. Absolutely travesty. And those who come into the UN and partner with these guys without doing basic research are just lazy. Lazy or get along. They say, well, we can launch our report up there. Yeah, launch on. Launch yourself into corruption and hypocrisy. Oh, well. Let's take a look. Let us review. We'll go down the line and introduce today's speakers. We have Louis Charbonneau of Human Rights Watch, previously of Reuters. This is an individual who wrote to UN spokesman Stefan Dujarric trying to get Inner City Press thrown out of the building. Next man, who's done so little research that he's sitting in a private club. Here he is, anti-NGO committee. He's a UN official. Should a UN official be speaking in a private club about which member state should be arrested? It's a travesty. Who authorized it? Why isn't he in the briefing room? The briefing room is empty, as we can once again see. The briefing room is empty. Maybe you can engage in some lip reading about these geniuses who throw other journalists out. Yes, they're so much against despots that they awarded Inner City Press's office to an Egyptian state media. That is UNCA president Sana Youssef, the proud occupant with a single Egyptian flag of the investigative press's office. And that's how they operate. This is the group. There's the former Reuters correspondent. You can find him because he wrote an email to Stefan Dujarric saying, throw Inner City Press out. No, saying he felt threatened. Never saw anything like it in his 45 years of journalism. And then, when this was leaked to Inner City Press was thrown out of its office so that this non-existent Egyptian media could go inside. Here we go. They came into that office and they threw all of Inner City Press's files in the street so that an Egyptian flag could sit on a desk with a lone bottle of water. No question in 10 years. When this was leaked to Inner City Press, he said that it was copyrighted, that it had to be removed from the search because it was a copyrighted document. So you can complain, who's the abuser, who's the despot, who's the censor? I'll tell you who. This group here. It's a travesty. Ask Mr. Charbonneau about censorship, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Ask Mr. Mahoney what investigation he did after the UN threw a journalist physically in the street. This man said, well, I investigated it. Yeah, how? He called Lou Charbonneau. That's the quality of these guys' investigation. It's a joke, an absolute travesty. Andrew Gilmour is still going on. Maybe we can get a copy of his remarks. It will be a wonderful thing. Let's see. Gilmour, I think you should elect Sisi. I mean, he's not as bad as Salman. Who knows what he's saying? Why a UN official would go in a private club is unknown, unclear. It seems like he's done. Is he done? He's done. And so, on that note, yeah, you can be quiet too. All right, I'm going to whisper. It's too tough. It's too rough to speak loud in the hallway outside this sleazed fest of hypocrites, blowhards. Incredible. Don't be loud. Don't be so loud. Yeah, these guys are. You can take a look at the video of this. This is a group that throws the press in the street, and the UN's Human Rights Office is partnering with it. Shameful. Let's zero in. Shameful. Absolute shame. Oh well, we're getting blocked by a. I don't want to. Maybe we can get in Cece's journalist. Did Cece's journalist show up? Good partner of the UN Correspondents Association. This is a hypocrisy and a joke. Let's pull back for the wide shot. We've got the wide shot. Then we're going to have the question and answer period. It'll be wonderful. Hang on. A lot of coffee being drunk. A lot of circle jerk. Yes. This individual, they left out Gabon. They left out Togo. They left out Cameroon. I wrote to Human Rights Watch Press and said, can you explain? An intern named Ashley said they were going to get back to it. They're researchers. Nothing. Finally, Joe Becker, child's right defender of Human Rights Watch, admitted on camera that it just wasn't considered that serious. It just wasn't considered that serious. And so, people in Cameroon send stuff all over the place. Ken Roth doesn't care. This is Ken Roth's money man here. This is it. Partner with sleazy corporate journalists, some of whom, does Ken Roth know that his partner Anka favors Egyptian state media over investigative press? Oh, but let me explain this about Human Rights Watch. They refuse to put inner city press even on their sleazy mailing list. It was just to test them, whether they're open to criticism. They're not. They're as much of a dictatorship as the countries they present, but it's quite profitable. Mr. Louis Charbonneau plays the role of a Paul Biya right-hand man. He'll do anything. He'll defend. How could a human rights person defend the omission of Cameroon? But, hey, they must have some theory, right? Just as Gilmore has some theory. Well, I wanted to get my message out, and so I'd speak in hell if I had to. This is worse than hell. At least hell has some sincere flames. This is sheer lying and hypocrisy. The great investigator, Mr. Robert Mahoney, he was confronted. He was told. He was shown video of security guards approaching a journalist at the Security Council, picking up all the materials, grabbing this very phone, throwing it in the street, and he said, I've looked into it, there's nothing there. Because Big Lou, the human rights maven in the glasses there, is, he's a human rights maven, of course. If he wants to censor, if he claims that his censorship emails are copyrighted, who's to say any different? Cameroon, screw Cameroon. Cash the paychecks. Now, the question is, a UN official, is he raiding member states? Has anything here been said about the corrupt groups that are not removed, even after indictment, from the NGO committee? CEFC China Energy, a Chinese oil company, 100% funded an NGO called China Energy Fund Committee, whose head, Patrick Ho, was indicted in November 2017 for paying bribes to President of the General Assembly, Sam Kutesa. In all the time since, China Energy Fund Committee is still accredited to the NGO committee. Nothing has been done. Now, these geniuses show up. They don't care about corruption. In fact, the group where they're appearing took money from the last convicted UN briber, Eng Lap Sang, and it's for covering that case. It's unbelievable. Thanks for asking. You could count. I've linked to their report. Those ones jumped out at me because I work on those issues. I could not believe it. Here's a cynical, maybe because Ken Roth has been in power himself some 36 years, they have a blind spot for that type of abuse. Maybe it's possible. One never knows. Okay, we're going to be quiet. This is extremely important material. These people don't even go to the NGO committee. Wait, I think we've got some videos. We've got some slides. Hang on a moment. Slides? Let's have it. I think we're going to get some slides. All right. Maybe they'll have some subtitles. Let's do it. Let's have some slides. Gilmore is now in the audience. Gilmore is no longer on the stage. Turn around if you can. CPJ. Turn it around. Turn it around. You can do an investigation. In the time it takes you to find another chair, you can do an investigation by calling up your good friend Louis H. Charbonneau. I don't know if it's H. Oh. There we go. Yes. Are we going to see Sisi? Are we going to see... Yes, look. That's the Russian delegate. Okay. India's next door. Can we flash India? Again, it's totally fine. I've written articles criticizing exactly this, but the UN official, what's his role here? Why don't they do this thing? If they believe in what they're saying, do it in the briefing room, not in a sleazy, corrupt, for-pay, censorious organization. It's the ultimate sleaze fest of the UN. Yes, Malu has walked right by. We can show you. Nothing secret here. And yet, here we go. Pakistan. Who do we got here? Oh, the United States. This is the hero of today's script. Now, the question is, why is China Energy Fund Committee still in the NGO committee? Also, I hate to say this, the U.S. has repeatedly blocked a Sudanese NGO, saying it's affiliated with Osama bin Laden, who's long dead. Long dead. And they were asked for evidence, and they just keep kicking it down the road. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. The UN is a joke. To claim that here we go. All right. This will be good. Again, my point here, UN official Andrew Gilmour should have said, I am happy to appear, I'm happy to speak in a public location where people can hear what I say, not in a foreplay location that censors the press. Yeah, they are. That's the funny thing about the UN, is that you can run around and as if these guys are the paragons of freedom. They threw the investigative press in the street and put an Egyptian state media in its place. Okay, great. This is great. Oh yeah, they're really under fire here. These guys are like the resistance. Samitzad. Unka Samitzad. It's a nicely produced video. I can show you a video of Unka throwing a journalist in the street. I'd like them to screen it. I'd like them to show what Paul Biya has done to Anglophones and then say why to Ken Roth it's not a problem. It's not a problem, you know. Better to robo-tweet about how great Antonio Guterres is. A travesty. These guys are going to really love it. This turned out to be somewhat newsy. I don't know if it's newsy, but it's at least visual. Let's see. So far we've had Russia. Who's this guy? Who do we got? I don't know. Civil society. There we go. Oh. See, you can film. Russian Federation. Here we go. Accuses an NGO. Are they going to cover the U.S. and the Sudanese NGO? I don't know. Let's see. There goes Big Rob. Big Rob. He's going to do an investigation. He's going to get to the bottom of it. Just call Lou. It's the easiest way. It's all among friends, right? Hey, and if anyone disagrees, throw them in the street. And then have a press conference about despots. Total hypocrisy. Total hypocrisy. Here we go. Yeah. Private club. Private club for money. For money. A disgusting performance. Mostly by Andrew Gilmour. The other ones, I've come to know them. I've come to know anyone that can be a supposed investigator of journalistic problems, who investigates by calling his friend, said like, is this guy an asshole? Yes, great. Throw him out, break his computer. That's not Committee to Protect Journalists. That's a bunch of tuxedoed bone holes raising funds at the Waldorf. And it's a shame because just like with the UN, people don't know what they actually do. The UN looks good if you don't know about it. And CPJ sounds great, and Meryl Streep can give all her money to it until you actually find out that when a journalist is thrown in the street, they do nothing. It's just a bunch of corporate friends. There's Iran. He's their representative on the NGO committee. Their guys are it's just terrible. Andrew Gilmour, side of the angels. Look, Prince Zayd is the one quitting. He's the one going out in a blaze of glory, denouncing all the bad boys from the Philippines to Hungary. Andrew Gilmour, should he be in this thing? I don't know. We asked. We wrote about it. As he came off the elevator here, we said, Andrew, Gilmour, Gilly, why aren't you in the briefing room? Why are you in a private club? Why didn't you just Google the name Unka and censorship? Okay, it's just so tough. It's really, really tough. There are two sides to the problem of the NGO committee. This is certainly one of them, although these are not the people that have any business discussing it. But the second side are things like the China Energy Fund Committee, in special consultative status with ECOSOC, approved by the NGO committee. There goes a very important guy who was yesterday very omnipresent. Oh, the EU has Estonia. Estonia has now joined the Circle of Light. Yes, U.S. and Estonia versus Russia, China, Pakistan, and Iran. Who's this blowhard? Oh, Mexico, one of the good guys. All right. Subtle dig, subtle dig. Is that Luxembourg? These are some old clips. If that's Luxembourg, she's been long gone. We have 3 separate U.S. representatives. This is like a resume clip for the resistance. It's fabulous. Chile, by the way, didn't respond to the DPRK Sanctions Committee's request about its export of wines as a luxury good to DPRK. But I'm sure on this, they're fabulous. Well, under Bachelet, they were fabulous. Under the next guy, not so much. Maybe they'll join the rogues. Andy Gilmour, he'll tell you who's good and who's bad. That's how he rolls. And Mr. Robert Mahoney, he can do an investigation and tell you which journalists can be targeted and thrown in the street. Then just ignore that it's an Egyptian state media. Well, it's a humanitarian function. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm hoping for some more video because that makes it. Just blowhards moving their mouths is not cutting it for me. But it is what it is. This is the coverage. The live stream from Hypocrisy Central inside the United Nations, fully authorized by the Media Accreditation and Liaison Unit, Malou, who stood by as UN packers rifled through inner-city press's stuff and threw it onto First Avenue. That was a good one, Akko. Well done. UN Censorship Alliance. And the thing about these NGOs is that they never check it out. They're so desperate for a place to speak in the UN that they don't see the difference. They could easily have gotten the briefing room. Easily. Look how much they're sucking up to the U.S. You don't think they could do it in the briefing room at the U.S. mission? No, this is like, we had a UN briefing. It's not a UN briefing. It's in a private club charging money made up of censors and dictator media. Highly ironic, highly ironic. Looks like maybe he has a prepared text. Does he have a prepared text? Let's get it. Let's get his prepared text. That'll be good. We'll post it, happily. 100%. Oh, yeah. Wait. Representing the NGO community. The main function of the NGO committee in the UN is not blocking well-meaning groups. That does happen, and we've denounced it. The main function is to allow in a bunch of sleazy groups that are paying bribes. Did you ever hear of South News? Did you hear of Sun Kyan-ip Foundation? Did you hear of Englap Sang? Did you hear of Patrick Ho, China Energy Fund Committee? Still in ECOSOC. That would be a different press conference. And Andrew Gilmore has no interest in denouncing corruption at the UN because, apparently, wittingly or not, he's a part of it. And I can say it because this group, rather than answer whether there was a connection, I won't even go into that thing. It's enough to say they happily had a journalist evicted for seeking to cover their meeting. It was here. Let me explain. It was for coming to cover an event of the UN Correspondents Association in this room, January 29th, 2016. We said we would cover it. We did cover it. We stood here filming. When people started getting a little rowdy, we stood there filming. They got Stefan Dujarric to come and say, you got to leave. We said, you have no paperwork, but if a guard asks us to leave, we'll leave. Guard asked, said they have no paperwork, but he'd like you to leave. We left. And for that, Inner City Press was thrown out of its office, banned from the UN worldwide for several days by the disgusting Department of Public Information, a censorship machine that works together. But what kind of a group of journalists would get a journalist thrown out of the UN for daring to cover its meeting? Well, this group, UN Correspondents Association, that's exactly what they did. Absolutely travesty. And those who come into the UN and partner with these guys without doing basic research are just lazy. Lazy or get along. They say, well, we can launch our report up there. Yeah, launch on. Launch yourself into corruption and hypocrisy. Oh, well.